Yeah, I mean, we shot this film in 2019, and it was the easiest expedition I've ever been on. Afghanistan was super, super chill. It was really easy. We actually got delayed on the way out, right? But so we took a commercial flight to Afghanistan, and then we took an aid flight from Afghanistan to Bamyan, and a convoy took our skis and all of our equipment across. And so the way back, there was a blizzard, and so we weren't going to make our connecting flight. But it's not like you get a connecting flight, right, from an aid flight. Like United doesn't care. And the Afghans were like, hey, you guys are going to have to buy another ticket. And we're like, yeah, that's fine. We're good. Like, we have a budget for this. And they're like, yeah, but look, we'll kidnap you. And then your adventure insurance will kick in. And that way you don't have to buy a new ticket. And we were like, no. Like, we're not going to do that. And they're like, no, it's really fun. Like, it'll be awesome. Like, it'll be really fun. You'll be fine. And we're like, that's not what we're trying to do here with this project. But then, 2019, we set out for a 5 to 7 minute film, and then it was a 40-minute film, and then it was a pandemic, and then it was the fall of Afghanistan, and then it was, we went and shot, or I didn't get to go, Ben went and shot in Germany, and then we just had this whole behemoth of a film, and to get it across the finish line, as many creators here know, it just, so much work to get it done, and funding, and editing, and I think my wife was ready to kick me out of the house. I think Ben was stopping to wasn't taking texts anymore. Doug and our other buddy Byron had to hear about it like every hourly update of what was going on. So, and then, even the evacuation, that was just nonstop texting. And I think one thing really important to recognize is that, the evacuation was certainly a mess, but we also, the previous administration negotiated with the Taliban. What did we expect to happen? And then the other administration that came in to effect the evacuation was stuck with that work. And in my military experience, we never negotiated with terrorists. So I'll leave it at that.
And you guys did such a good job balancing the beauty of the landscape, but also the hardship of the community. How was that into not just the production, but during the editing too?
Yeah, I mean, as I think you can see, it was a really joyful experience, right? Like the people were incredible, and I told everybody when I came home, and we spent a couple days in Kabul, in some of the best parts of what happened never make it into the movie, right? They're not narrative. We didn't want any non-Afghans in the film. But I think it was just really easy because of the joy that the Afghan people provide. In like, my wife and I would have been fine. Our daughter Wilder was 3 when this was shot initially, and we could have gone, dropped Wilder off at the base of a valley, left her with any family, and gone and skied all day and come back and picked her up, and she would have been happy, fed, and asleep by the time we picked her up. Like, in Bamyan especially, I never, ever worried for my safety. And so I think in the editing process, there were moments where it was really easy to just go to the darkness, but I think Alishah wouldn't let it happen, and it wouldn't have been a service. Like, we did that, so one of the other things that came out of this is we were leaving, we actually launched a free ride competition that Doug was a part of in Kyrgyzstan after this, and it was because the Afghans were like, how do you help us? And we don't need any more awareness, right? And I think that's so true. Like people are always climbing or doing something for awareness, and I'm like, I think we're aware. So Alishah asked us, what can you do? And so we launched a free ride tour, and we made like all these statements that we were going to beat the free ride world tour just because they were missing out on the best skiers in the country. And Kyrgyzstan now has a free ride world qualifier, but it was these guys that got to that helped us lead to that. So I think that was in the editing process, just reminding ourselves, like, we can't tell the future. We have to continue pushing towards hope and acting on it, right? Hope is not a strategy, but it is a guiding principle.
Yeah, and I'm glad you guys didn't dive into it because everything turned around and, during the editing too.
Yeah, and that was just a battle, I think everybody else was going through different darkness. I mean, the pandemic, my entire life shifted, as did many other people. I shut down my business. I, had to pause making films. I had to I drove a forklift for a bike company. I went back to work for the Department of Defense. I'd been in the Army before. This is part of a larger project called Adventure Not War. I've been back to go back to all the combat zones that I've served in. So Angola, Iraq, Afghanistan, and next up is Bosnia, and then Abkhazia after that. So it was easy to slip into the darkness, but we had to just keep reminding ourselves how fun it was. Like, I mean, you just spend time with those folks, and it was a fucking blast.
And I think one of the most, at least for me, there's so many like angles I could go, but like one of the heartfelt moments, it's just to actually notice the initial rivalry, and then they just melt into each other. Like, how was to witness that unity during the film?
Yeah, I hear a lot about the crisis of men in America, and I think it's real. A lot of loneliness, a lot of isolation, and I am lucky enough where I've never had that. Like, I have an amazing group of male friends, and we tell each other we love each other, and we hold each other, and we cry with each other, and it's just such a gift. And they really modeled that for us, right? And I think we spent so much time together that they just finally started cracking jokes with us. I mean, it took a while to get there, but it was amazing to see that happen. And I think that's what and it's not the competition provides the goal, but it's the training, it's the experience, it's the doing the things over and over.
And the spirit of sport too.
Yeah, and the spirit of sport, and that's really what broke it down. And by the end, yeah, I mean, we took these guys into Bamyan for the first time that they had been there. They got to stay in a hotel. I mean, we just got to see so much happen. And I think when you've lived a very closed, narrow life, like you can see that blossoming pretty quickly.
Yeah, like my two daughters watched the film with me. One is 4 and the other one is 6. And at the end of the film, they're like, "Mommy, they're friends now."
Yeah.
It was so great to see. I'm wondering if there's any other moments like that didn't make to the cut.
All sorts across the board, and not just with them, right? I mean, there were so many people involved in this film, especially on the ground in Afghanistan. So there were other guides. I mean, a lot of the time, like Alishah, like just joking around, laughing around, skiing together, getting up into the mountains. You heard him say, like, that guy's Canadian. You may have read that. He's like, well, that guy's Canadian, but he speaks American. And it's easy to laugh at that until you hear people in our country say the same thing. And then
Making fun of them, I'll phone you.
Right, exactly. So, yeah, that happened all the time with different folks. And I mean, there was a lot of sadness when we left. I mean, it was. It was such incredible skiing too. You don't really get to see that here, but because of the race and everything else like that, we had days of like overhead blower pow. It was incredible. So, and yeah, you have those days, and I mean, Mushtabah's dad and I, like, we're the same age, which is wild. We're the same age, and he and I had some really lovely moments, and he gave me a big hug when I left, and come back, bring your family. I can't wait to see you again, and hopefully someday I will be able to bring my family back.
Yeah, hopefully well, it was shot in 2019, and here we are 5 years later. You guys are going to so many festivals, and I'm wondering, how has the community received the film? Were they able to watch? Like, I know that you guys are in touch with most of these people that became refugees, but I'm wondering, in a large scale, were they able to see it? Yeah,
most people were able to see the film. We had to get releases, even for the folks who are living in a Taliban-occupied Afghanistan. We still had to get the releases. The women especially, we had to get the releases. But yeah, we wanted to make a film. I wanted to make a film. When I set out to make films, the idea is, are the community that the film is going to be impacted by, will they be proud of the film? Sure. And that's it. Like, that's my main goal. And if that is achieved, then everything else is just bonus. But we wouldn't have made this film and not shown them. I got to see the film open at Tribeca. I wasn't able to go, but Alishah was in New York, and he actually flew down to Michigan, and we got to spend a couple days together. And he got to see my life, and it was a really wonderful thing. And yeah, like, I think the hardest thing is there's so many people, there's so many moments and there's so many people that should have gotten thanked and maybe had a little bit of time on screen that weren't able to. And so that was really tough. But I mean, we set out with a $60,000 budget and with a 5 to 7 minute film in mind, and this is what we ended up with. So it was pretty wild experience.
Yeah, and like, were there any more challenges as far as like the political stuff to release the film or even to finish it?
Yeah, the finishing, I think there was a ton. We had to make sure we checked everything. There were multiple interpreters. And then, you saw the list, like, when the film started, like, all the different companies that are involved. There's, like, 8 executive producers involved. There's, like, just getting it across the finish line. I was joking earlier, in the military, oftentimes there's a thing called triple strand concertina wire. So that's, like, the wire that you see, like, built up around things. And you would always tell some young private, like, hey, as we're going to try and breach the wire, there's going to be a body breach, and you're going to have to fling your body onto the wire, and we're all going to run across you. Now, we wouldn't ever actually do that, right, Doug? But I felt there was a point where I really felt like to get the film across, I just had to fling my body onto the concertina wire, metaphorical and real, and just let them run across to get the film done. So, yeah, I mean, it's a fraught time in the world, without a doubt, but I think there's just so many, like community is so important, and reminding people that doing things individually, pulling yourself up by your bootstraps is bullshit. It's not real. We don't live that way. This isn't my film. This isn't Sturge's film. This is your film. This is Ben and Kirsten's film and Doug's film and Byron's film, and so many people made this happen, and Alishah does such a good job articulating that. And I think we just have to continue to respond with community and together. And, I think we are here to be vessels of joy, to take care of kids and old folks, and and just to do our best to respond to hate with love. And that's what the Adventure Not War project is. Like, I don't want to sugarcoat it, and Alishah doesn't want to sugarcoat it, but we wanted to show another side of what was possible, and that and the joy of it was the driving force that we're like, we've got to get this film done. And that's also, though, why we got the film here a couple of years ago, to say, like, we had to make it real so that we could finish the film. So Coast had a huge part in helping us get it across the finish line. Which is why because I have a day job, right? Like, I'm not a full-time filmmaker. And so when I was talking to my partner, my wife, and like, she was like, well, you can't go to all the film festivals. Which ones do you want to go to? And I was like, well, Coast. Coast, Fresh Coast up in Marquette. And then she's from Flagstaff, so we'll be at Flagstaff Adventure Film Festival too. So, because these are the ones where it's the grassroots community engagement that I think has the biggest impact.
This might be a tricky question, but I want to ask it anyway, because sometimes if we watch these films and we feel so tied up, like, what can we do? Again, I hope that the film has an impact. I don't know if the film has an impact over there, it has an impact on us, but then, like, how can we be part of this?
Well, there's a couple things, right? So the first is if you go to Champions of the Golden Valley, you can donate, and we are raising money both for Afghan refugees and the ski club, which has been reinstituted in its own way. So that's the first thing. That's the second thing. The first thing you can do is be a good community and be vessels of joy. Take care of kids, take care of our seniors, and respond to hate with love. Like, do those things, and then if you have the time and the resources to give a little bit of financial resources to Afghans, please do that, but also take care of your communities here. And then the third thing, if you're interested in continuing the project and you're like, I think I have something to offer, let me know, and we can find a way to get you involved in the next project or more deeply into this project.
Great. I want to open to the audience if anyone has any questions, since it's such a deep moving film.
Yeah, happy Sunday night.
Hey, Stacy. He's my favorite. Well, I wanted to know, like, one thing that struck me with the film so much, and this is a really minor detail, but I kind of do some photography, so I noticed these things, but I was fascinated by the clothing. And so I wondered if, like, no, really, like, I mean, was it, because they're in a country probably where I'm making a very broad assumption that maybe they're getting their clothes, 'cause some guys are wearing jackets on the ski slopes, like, dinner jackety type things. Like, when you were filming it, was that just something that happened, or did you make a conscious effort to recognize the fact that these people were probably, I'm assuming again, a big assumption, maybe taking a donation for, like, or it's like the clothes were donated, like, how do these clothes end up in, or the guy's purple jumpsuit, which was
The
so
purple jumpsuit.
rad.
The purple jumpsuit,
I mean,
right?
that was
Like,
such a good part of the film. Like,
I know.
was it like
The purple
conscious, or did it
jumpsuit
just
and
kind of
the-
happen?
there's so much bullshit about like male, like being a man right now, and I'm like, yeah,
Apple beanie.
right, the apple beanie and the purple jumpsuit. Like I was telling Ben, they're like, we're not gonna win in the ski challenge, right? Like, they're just tougher, stronger, harder than we are. The year before, in the 8th Afghan Ski Challenge, there was a well-known ski-mo racer out of Boulder, Colorado, who came in second and like was really upset about it. And it's like, I mean, I lived in Boulder, so whatever. Like we all understand how people from Boulder can be. But yeah, so a lot of those were donated, right, or people had, and then the new ski suit that Hussein Ali had was like a Chinese ski suit, in the ski store. But skiing has been in Afghanistan for a long time. It really came in the 60s and 70s. There were a lot of rope tows all around Kabul and other places. And then a lot of that other stuff just came in through different NGOs. Italians and Kiwis from NZ brought in a lot of the other stuff. And then you saw like some of the big Agnes and True Gear. That was stuff we brought over. Those were my sponsors at the time. And really great brands who really believed in it. I actually lost one of my major sponsors likely over this film, and I think their words were, "We don't want to see you, beheaded with our logo on it, and so we don't think this is a great idea. This is not a project for us."
Yeah.
So
it was amazing.
I think they regret it now. Does anyone have? Here we go.
So I'm curious, what is Alishah doing in Germany? Like, what is his profession, or how is he supporting his family?
he's learning German. They have a strong social safety net there, so he's learning German. He's doing some other things. Interestingly enough, his brother ended up in Kalamazoo, an hour south of where I live in Grand Rapids, and he's a truck driver, and America needs truck drivers. But we've been trying, and will continue to try, and get Alishah work at a ski resort. So Mad River Glen was actually has filed and tried, but the immigration process in this country is pretty broken, and yeah, exactly right. So
It's about to get better.
okay, but yeah, so we'll continue to try. But he's an incredible individual. I mean, he easily, we've been trying to figure out, maybe we could get him on a guide track for International Federation of Mountain Guide Alliance. I mean, he's an incredible skier. He's a gifted athlete.
Is he receiving some support from?
He is receiving he's receiving support, and then there's also, if and when the film is sold, and we believe it'll be sold to a streaming service, part of that sale will go back to both the charity work that is being done, but also to directly to Alishah and his family. So.
Got it. Does anyone have more questions?
I did. So I did all the field production. So the film was my idea. I got us on the ground. I got everything there, and it wasn't really until sometime in 2022, 2023 that I had to do the body breach. But doing production, and then there's a race. Like I went. You can see me in a couple places, but you got to really be looking. I think I finished in the top 10, but when Mushtaba went down, I also ate shit really, really hard. Like, the conditions were atrocious, and there was there was a Scottish guy and this dude from Quebec, and so I beat the guy from Quebec. Any Letterkenny fans in here? But so but it was so hard. Like you were not going to beat them up the hill because you went I don't know, it was like I think about 1,000 feet up, and then you went down into a saddle, and then you had to